Ramadan Kareem to all our listeners in Jordan. I believe we are still number 2 rated sports podcast, repping the Middle East. Inshallah, that keeps going. Welcome to the Anglo-Italian pod. I'm Rory. You can follow us on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod. And he is
Tommy, and you can find us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod. Happy Ramadan to all the people who are currently fasting. Rory and I are not, but we are surely not fasting from football. And here we are ready to serenade you with quite an in-depth Champions League review, I would say, and quite a spicy weekly topic. Rory, how are you feeling going into the episode today?
I'm feeling good. Well, I'm feeling nervous. You know, Arsenal have got their season on the line this evening, so it's crunch time for Arteta. So hopefully we'll get this record nice and wrapped up before kickoff. We'll find out. But I'm good. Some of my students are currently going through fasting for Ramadan, so I do feel quite bad for them as we're all sat eating our lunch in front of them. It feels almost cruel. But Tommy, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm doing great. I was my week, you mean?
My week, yeah, I forgot what day it was.
I was confused by your question. I was like, wait, what day is it today? Is it Monday? Are we on Twitch live? No, my week was good, and man, we will cover it deeply in the Euro review section. But that PSG-Bayern game, wow, what a game. It was kind of casual because I was at a friend's house. I keep breaking the rules, but the game was on, and we were talking. The two friends that I was with are not that much into football, but all of a sudden, after 5 minutes, we all turned around and were like, okay, this is worth all of our attention. Big time. Yeah. The weather is great in Milan. It's been a little chilly, but man, the summer is approaching. The Euro Championship is approaching. And for that reason, what are we going to cover in our weekly topic today?
We are going to be discussing the forgotten tournament in England, the tournament they wish they could forget in Italy, Euro 2000. We're taking you back 21 years, listeners. Can you believe it? I was but a young pup, 10 years old, about to enter the wide world of high school. I had Snake in my hands, which now sounds weird, but on my phone. And we were ready to watch England dominate Europe.
Mate, do you know that I didn't tell you about this, and I'm going to open up to our listeners right now. I got a bunch of stick on Instagram some time ago because a page of which I do not recall the name posted something, a picture about Pandev in a Macedonia shirt, and they said Pandev is low-key an international footballing legend. I commented underneath, I simply said, when he scored his first goal for Macedonia, the Twin Towers were still standing.
Because I saw that and I thought it was a weird comment.
Dude, but why is it a weird
I thought it was a weird comment. He made a very good point. He said, yeah, because nothing else of note happened in 2001, right? And I kind of see what he means.
But, okay, if you want to... choose, no, I'm not going to edit this. If you want to choose a landmark reference to make you understand how many years ago he scored...
I think, obviously, the guy was getting his arse in his hand, but I did think it was oh, okay. Yeah.
But after that, there was another comment by this time, this must have been, I don't know how he had ended up on a soccer page, as you would call it, but this guy must have been someone from Missouri or something. And it was just like, dude, what the fuck is this comment? And I was just like, I didn't answer to that. I was just
man, it's not worth it. People on the internet are constantly looking for beef. Do you remember that guy on Twitter who just fucking gave me loads of abuse because I put the away team at home by accident? Yeah. And he just fucking wouldn't leave me alone. He in the DMs and all sorts. Man was just looking for an argument. I was like, mate, leave me alone, please.
All right.
10 o'clock and I'm tweeting.
Sorry about this digression. You let us know what you think about that historical fact that I brought up. I had nothing to do with the Twin Towers being burnt to the ground, but apparently I'm being held accountable for reminding people that Pandev did score when a New York skyline was still in full display. Okay, whatever. Rory, take us to the blimp.
I need to get us out of this. The blimp that will not be going near any towers. And it's time to review Europe. Was it 1 star, 5 stars? I feel like it was closer to 5 stars with the Champions League action that we saw. Tommy, what did you think of the action?
I thought that there were a few games that were definitely 5 stars, and there were 2 games that were definitely below 5 stars. But one of these 2 games that was 5 stars, I will say it. I'm not afraid of saying it. One of the best games of football that I have watched in recent years. I'm talking, of course, about PSG-Bayern. Man, I had not seen a tie that hard fought and that high on a qualitative level in quite some time. The 2 teams were just going for it. Neymar, oh my, I loved everything that guy did. I got really scared as if I was a PSG fan when that goal went in, and they really lived it supporting PSG. I would have never thought that I really had it in me, but yeah, I found myself supporting Les Parisiens. What about you, Rory?
I think you've always had a soft spot for PSG, man. I think you always seem to like them, no?
Man, I don't know. I just like, the petrol dollars. They're not my favorite thing in football, but I have a soft spot for Neymar, Mbappe. I love to see it day in and day out. They are an exciting team. And right now it looks like they've got the right manager, maybe to take them all the way until the end of this tournament. We will see. Rory, what did you think of the game?
Well, I think this game, this tie, was everything you want from the Champions League, right? It's 2 European giants. And then the way it was played meant that it wasn't cagey. There was no team trying to just see it out. It was just 180 minutes of high octane attacking football porn. It was incredible, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was, everything you want from the tournament. And both teams can come out like, even though Bayern have gone out, I don't think they'll be disappointed in any way with their performance. I don't think they'll be disappointed in any of the decisions. There was no refereeing decisions that overshadowed any of the ties. There was no controversy. It was just 2 really good teams trying to win football. And PSG came out on top ultimately. And I think you can say the way they started that first leg, maybe you could say they deserved it because they were so clinical in Munich. But the leg on Tuesday, I found it a really fascinating game.
I did too. However, I have to say that especially in the opening minutes of the game, I found myself absolutely dumbstruck looking at that Bayern Munich defense. They did not look like the reigning champions. They were pushing maybe offensively a little too much, and they were found on the counterattack on quite a few occasions with players out of position, center backs not really knowing where they were supposed to go. There was one call that was made that was not correct on Mbappe offside. Now, I'm not surprised because the referees were Italians, and these 3 in particular do not have great reputation in Italy. Mbappe looked at the sidelinesman and was like, man, that's not offside. The sidelinesman kind of laughed and said, there is that guy at midfield keeping you out of play. Then you rewatch the replay, and that guy was keeping him in play big time.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments that I was just like, oh my God, if they hadn't made that call, that would have been a goal from PSG. But this was only in the opening, I would say 20 minutes. Then Bayern Munich found their shape again, and they did look scary when they were pushing.
Well, this is it, exactly. And you're right about the opening. I think we're going to see a lot of teams that struggle to keep up with PSG's pace in their front line. We've talked about it before. The fact they've got Di Maria, Neymar, and Mbappe means there's just so much pace there that defenses, especially teams that like to play high lines, which are most of the kind of stronger teams in Europe now, they have to find that balance, right? We're going to talk about Liverpool, but it's something they struggle with as well, is finding that balance between having the high pressure and not getting caught out yourself. But I was incredibly impressed with Bayern. We need to say the obvious, elephant in the room. If Lewandowski is fit, this tie is completely different. This tie, goes a different way, I think.
Is it, though? Try to convince me. I'm not fully sold on this theory.
Now, there was a statistic, right, that Bayern Munich had 45 shots over the 2 legs, okay? 45 shots over the 2 legs against PSG, the joint most any team managed against an opponent in 2 games in the Champions League this season. If you managed to generate 45 shots over 2 legs, and you've got Lewandowski up front, he's getting at least 3, I think, over 2 games.
Yeah. You've convinced me.
I think in the first leg, the difference was, especially when Bayern Munich managed to pull them back, the difference was they didn't have that clinical finisher, despite Choupo-Moting scoring in both legs, which you have to take your hat off and applaud him for that. You can't help but think if it was Lewandowski up there, he'd be getting a brace, he'd be getting a hat-trick. But look, it is what it is. Football throws up these injuries, it throws up this shit, and you have to deal with it. If your squad isn't deep enough to be able to deal with it, then that's your problem, not the fact that the player's injured, right?
And hey, as we say in Milan, if my grandfather had wheels, he would be a street car. He clearly doesn't. He's not a street car. He's my grandpa. So we will never know how this tie would have been. All we know is that PSG, they were in the final last year. They are in the semifinals again this year. Who was the nightly notable for you? Now, Neymar got the Man of the Match award. Do you think it was deserved?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely deserved. But did you see the fact that SofaScore gave him an absolutely hilarious rating of 5.5 because he missed so many chances? So to anyone out there, and there's plenty of you on Twitter who just use SofaScore and these apps to rate a player's performance, maybe look beyond the app and watch the game. It just sums it up completely how statistics don't define a performance, right? Neymar had a lot of chances there he should have scored, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he still absolutely ran the game and was incredible.
There was only a moment where Neymar, we could say, as we say in Italian, he pissed out of the toilet, which means when you try to do something, but you do it one too many times, towards the end, Mbappe is wide open. Neymar decides to take on another defender and then shoots and gets the defender's leg. I saw Mbappe getting pissed there. I saw his face and it was just like, all right, with playing Ronaldinho-style football, but Ronaldinho would have passed me that ball. Yeah. Well,
Neymar is prone to that, though, right? This is where I struggle with Neymar. I can obviously appreciate how talented a player he is, but I do struggle with the fact that he does try to be the... And can you have a go at someone for trying to entertain with skills? No, not really. That's what we all love the game for.
Yeah.
But I do feel like he tries a little bit too hard, and sometimes you can be like, oh, mate, just fucking square it and get the job done, if you know what I mean.
I 100% agree with you. The thing that I appreciate about Neymar, he's the only player in Europe, I repeat it, who has the balls to bring that type of flair to a Champions League fixture. And many of the times you could argue the fact that let's compare him to Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho's tricks and like circus numbers, they had a meaning in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes Neymar maybe does that he does it one too many times and it looks like it's actually it doesn't mean anything to the game. 90% of what he did against Bayern Munich worked. And he got pretty unlucky. In a few occasions, he should have scored, but he absolutely ran the game. I think the player of the Man of the Match award is absolutely deserved. Another player that really impressed me, however, in the opposition was Lucas Hernandez. And now I'm thinking that a lot of AC Milan fans would love to see Theo and Lucas mashed together so that there can be that offensive drive and also that defensive attitude that, matter of fact, blocked Mbappe for the majority of the game.
Yeah, he did keep him relatively quiet, to be fair. Beyond the offside where we've talked about, he was a little bit quiet for Mbappe, which is kind of that's only a compliment to how Bayern Munich did their job. Also, while we're talking about Bayern Munich defenders, we've got to applaud David Alaba's little spin clearance for a corner, which he definitely intended. But that level of nonchalance, you have to admire. That was incredible.
And another thing that happened in the game, I don't know if you noticed it, at some point, man, at the peak of the game, it was a climax, right? It kept rising and rising and rising. And there was a moment, I don't remember who it was. One was Neymar. They basically like dribbled 2 players from PSG. They dribbled 3 Bayern Munich defenders with 2 back heel touches. And right after that happened, you see this ball in by PSG and Jerome Boateng put the ball after put the ball out of play with his back heel as well. And I was just like, I've never seen a center back do that. The ball comes there and he just flicks his back heel and goes talk to the goalkeeper. I was like, that's dope, dude.
He's pretty sick. It's pretty sick, to be fair. But while we're talking about defensive solidity again, we need to also say Kylian Mbappe was proper putting a shift in defense. He was running back, constantly covering back. So really, really putting in a shift. You could see the hunger there for him to win this with Paris. He fucking wants it. But I wanted to talk about Bayern Munich and their attack. I found it a really, really frustrating night. I found it because, well, the opposite to you, I wanted Bayern Munich to go through. I really wanted them to go through. And I found it so frustrating to watch Sane and Coman. Now, we've talked about Sane before and how his decision-making sometimes needs to be a little bit better and he needs to be a bit quicker off the draw. Now, I think him and Coman do exactly the same thing. They're very, very similar players. And I felt like both of them are quite happy to dribble around 3 or 4 players, but then where is the end product? And this is what Bayern Munich needed. It's okay to round the right back and the left back, but if your final ball into the box isn't accurate or isn't good enough, there's no point. And I just found it a really, really frustrating performance from both those guys. I don't know if you think I'm being harsh, but...
No, I don't know how to word it, actually, but I remember when Bayern Munich won that Champions League final versus Borussia Dortmund, I want to say in 2012, maybe? Yeah, 2012, 2013. I think that ever since, Bayern Munich have kept a core of players and have tried to insert in this well-functioning machine a lot of different names, but it has never quite worked out as when Ribéry and Robben were there. They try to play with the same style of football, but with different players. They did win last year, but correct me if I'm wrong, I never had the feeling like they were the powerhouse of the continent. They are Bayern Munich. You've got to respect them. They've got a great history. But when you looked at this team, you were like, yes, they are a very good team. But are they the powerhouse of the continent? I don't think so. There was something lacking all along, I think.
Okay. No, I can kind of see that. I feel like last year they really did put their stamp down as the best team in Europe. I think really did.
They absolutely deserved it. I would love to give a hug to Lewandowski because he didn't get the Ballon d'Or, and still I do not understand the decision. They were the powerhouse last year. Yeah. I do think that they're more of a powerhouse when Lewandowski's in the field. But so is it your number 9 that makes you a powerhouse, or is it a bit all the rest of the squad as well? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's more how the squad. It's more how the squad is built, right? You need a rounded squad in order to be competitive at this level, right? And I think maybe you're right with the Robben and Ribéry thing. They're 2 very hard players to replace, right?
Very hard.
Some would say impossible. I'm not sure if Sane even took a shot over the night, and I don't think Coman was shooting much. They seemed like very much their job was to get the ball in the centre for Muller and Choupo-Moting. Maybe they need a little bit. I just found their wings so underwhelming and so frustrating. But while we're talking about rounded squads, for now, at once, finally, it feels like PSG have got a well-rounded squad.
Yes.
It feels like for a while, it's felt like there's been like Neymar and Mbappe and then a few just random average players dotted around, right? Whereas now, looking at the squad, you're like, okay, actually, their left back suddenly doesn't seem dodgy. Their defensive midfielder, Idrissa Gueye, had an incredible game. And all of a sudden, you're thinking the squad is looking really rounded, really level. And finally, maybe they've got themselves to that level where they've got past the psychological barrier. I think getting to the final last year was a big step for them, right? They lost to Bayern, obviously, but it was only 1-0, and they easily could have won that game, right? So I think they've got past the psychological barrier, and now their squad just seems more rounded and more even, and like they've kind of started to pay attention to the fact that you can't only have superstars and they'll drag you through. You do need very good players in every position. It feels like they've got there. And you said at the beginning, they've finally got a manager who you think could take them there.
Yeah, and Verratti was missing on both legs. So let's not forget they were talking about this in the Totally Football show before the first leg. There is an argument that says that Verratti is more fundamental to PSG than Lewandowski is to Bayern. It's a very hot take, but Verratti is an incredible player. Yeah. He was missing on both legs. Just wait for him to come back in the semifinal. They will need him big time. But where does this leave Bayern Munich? So Hansi Flick is set to leave Bayern at the end of the season to become Germany's head coach. Who do you think will replace him in Munich?
Well, it looks like they're after Ralf Rangnick. Everybody is after Ralf Rangnick. Every club who thinks they're going to be out without a manager is after Ralf. Now, there is a possibility they could miss out on him. I think Bayern Munich are not going to let that happen. I think that he is the one name on that very short list. I think he is the man they want, and I think they should get him. He'll do an incredible job. Obviously done great work at RB Leipzig, but more as like a sporting director. And now I did hear that they wanted to appoint him as director of football and manager, which seems like, well, I don't know. That feels like that was the manager's job 10 years ago, but now it's been separated into two jobs, and now Bayern are making it into one job again. But apparently they're going to offer him both roles, and he is definitely their target. Apparently the reason why Hansi Flick is leaving is because he is falling out with, is it Salihamidzic, the sporting director who's there at the moment? I think it's Salihamidzic. Apparently him and Hansi Flick do not get on.
Sorry, I know he's in the management. I don't know if he's the sporting
director. I'd have to check what his role is.
But also, another takeaway from this game, Real Madrid are still the only club in history to have successfully defended their UCL title. And they have actually done it twice. So I think that in Madrid, besides, of course, advancing to the semifinals, they are pretty proud that they're still the only team in the world to have done this.
That's quite a claim, isn't it? That is quite the claim. But this does leave us with a semi-final that I cannot wait for. I know it's the two evils of football against each other to win Europe's crown, and no matter who wins, it's going to leave a sour taste in the mouth. But if we can just, for a second, put the politics and stuff aside and just look at the football, this is going to be a hell of a tie. PSG versus Man City. I cannot wait. And who was the last manager, the only manager, I think, or the last manager to stop Pep from getting to a semi-final?
It was Zidane.
No, to get to a semi-final.
To stop him from getting to a final. I wouldn't know.
To stop him to get into a semi-final was Pochettino for Spurs.
Ooh, all right. So
Pochettino's got a good record against Guardiola, Champions League, right?
Yeah, the Tottenham City crazy-ass fixture.
Crazy game with lots of controversy. Still not sure why that last goal was ruled out. Or the Spurs goal was allowed. But hey, we're here. I think this is going to have a big... We know that Guardiola loves to overthink things. I think the fact that Pochettino has done him once is going to weigh heavy on his mind.
And going back 1 second to the headline that we could give to this clash, like the petrodollar derby, the lack of human rights derby, or whatever, I feel like as football fans, despite the fact that we might not like all this money being thrown around, finally it's a showdown. The two bad guys find themselves in the semifinals, and now I want to see who's the baddest of them. Rory, hot take right away. Who is going to advance to the final before we break down Man City BVB game?
Oh, I'm going to say my head just says PSG, and I don't know why.
My head says, oh my God, what's this voice? You know when you don't swallow your own saliva? I'm going to keep it like this for a second. My take is PSG as well. However, man, when I see that guy, Kevin De Bruyne, I just want him to win the Champions League. Very quickly, Rory, I think that with all the bullshit that we've thrown around in our podcast, I will be the first one to say that I said that Inter Milan would win the Champions League. I feel like we have become a little too cautious in throwing judgments around. And the last week, I believe we said Kevin De Bruyne might as well be one of the best, maybe midfielders. He's the best midfielder in the world. No doubt about it. He's the best.
You think his performance against Dortmund sealed it? Because he was outstanding.
And I will say this right now because it's in my notes, but the thing that I really liked is that De Bruyne renewed his £16.5 million contract with Man City thanks to a team of data analysts, which presented a detailed report over the impact that he has on Manchester City's playing style. What does this mean? No agent. And Raheem Sterling seems set to do the same thing. I think it's the start of a revolution. And I think that it's actually the quickest way for Kevin De Bruyne to get £16.5 million. It's Pep, you cannot do without me. Look at the stats.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, listen, and I think, to be fair, if you need an agent to renew a contract, if you know you're staying, like agents... We can do a special on agents, but
we will talk about agents when we go to Serie A.
If you need agents, right, they are there for you to move clubs and bargain between two clubs, right? I think for a player that clearly wanted to stay at Manchester City anyway, you don't need to get your agent involved, right? I love the fact that he got a report made and he thought, like, yeah, exactly. This is how much you need me. This is how good I am. This is how crucial I am to this team. I love that. And I think, maybe you're right. There will be a slight movement of players kind of getting their own team to do these things or getting their own, they call it a team, don't they? To do these things to prove their worth. And I also think there's a really good feel-good factor at Man City at the moment. Not many players are going to be choosing to leave there. I think, funnily enough, Leroy Sané is going to be looking back at Manchester going, why did I leave again? Okay, he won the Champions League last year. He's not going to be that upset. But...
No, he did not. He left this summer, man.
Was it this summer?
Yeah, and you said another great thing that I agree with you.
I thought he's been there 2 years. Okay,
I agree with you 100%. Why did they get rid of Sané? Because they've got the upgrade to Sané in their squad, and his name is
Phil Foden.
It's Phil Foden. You said this, man.
Mate, yeah, did I? Oh, I honestly say so many intelligent things. I can't keep on top of
You can't keep up with them, yeah.
He is. Now, okay, we're talking about Man City, so let's do Man City Dortmund. This was the battle of the young English midfielders, and it was unbelievable to watch. Now, I don't want to get too weird about Jude Bellingham, but I fucking love him. He's so good. And I had to, the whole game, I had to keep reminding myself, 17. How is this guy running midfield in a European quarterfinal? It blows my mind. His performance was all round. It was the attacking, it was defending, it was winning the ball back, it was putting the balls through for Haaland. His whole game was outstanding. His goal was beautiful. He has to be one of the revelations of the season. From coming from Championship Birmingham, right? A lot of Premier League clubs were looking at him. Apparently Manchester United through meetings with Eric Cantona and Ferguson at him, trying to convince him to go to United. But I think the difference is that he knew in the Premier League he would not be playing week in, week out, and he would not be starting quarterfinals in the Champions League, right? Obviously, Dortmund just had to turn around and go, look, we've done it for Jadon, we've done it for Gio Reyna, we've done it for Haaland, we will play you every game. And it is such a clever decision from him. Instantly, his development and his value, if you're into that thing, has gone through the roof. And all of a sudden, he's now gone from could he be in the England squad to, okay, how do we get him and Foden in the same midfield? If you know what I mean, it is just unbelievable. He was incredible first half. When they took the lead, Manchester City looked scared and they looked nervous. And I thought, oh, here we go. City are going to shit the bed again. They just can't get over this hurdle. They went in at halftime 1-0 down, and I don't know what Pep did at halftime, but second half, Man City were unbelievable. Dortmund got nowhere near them. And we need to talk about their goalkeeper. He is a really confusing man. He made some very good saves, but then was incredibly nervous at the same time and made me nervous.
I agree with you. And about Jude Bellingham, he got a shout on the Italian football Instagram as well. They put a picture of him right after he scored the goal with a bunch of stats from the two legs, and one of them was being played. And at the end, it said the guy was born in 2003. ciaone, which means it's like the superlative for ciao, like good night. Like, what the fuck? This guy is incredible. That goal, I mean, Ederson could have kept it out. It was kind of out of nowhere, though. I mean, you do already quite some work to get up there, and then you got to keep your strong hands. It was kind of out of nowhere. I think it's a great strike, not a mistake by Ederson, unlike I heard from other people. My take on Manchester City is that for once, when the situation got a little dire, they managed their nerves. Guardiola didn't overthink. The team showed great maturity, and they were able to overcome a very dangerous result. When Borussia were up 1-0, there is this weird thing with Man City. I don't know. I'm not fully sold on Guardiola. I'm not fully sold on a bunch of other things about Man City, the petrol dollars and all that. But I kind of was like, Borussia Dortmund don't have a saying in this competition. If they advance, they're going to be knocked out next round. Man City deserved to advance. They showed great composure throughout the game. They were able to overturn the score. Maret's cold-blooded killer. That penalty was perfect. And then Foden, man, that goal is a straight bullet. I don't know if he was actually aiming for that spot on the first post. We will never know. But, man, what a strike. What a celebration with Pep. There is a feeling of group of friends that want to win a trophy and want to make history. And I
think they know this is the year. I think in their head, they think this is the year for us to do it. Everything's gone so well for them at home. They've got the League Cup final against Spurs. They've won the Premier League. They're still in the FA Cup. They're marauding their way through Europe. I think they can feel that something special is about to happen, and it's exciting to see. Just two more stats quickly about Jude Bellingham, because we have to do the love-in on him. So I've recommended this Twitter feed before, is at Rich Jolly. He comes out with some great statistics. Jude Bellingham is the first player born after the last game at Main Road, Man City's old stadium, to score against Manchester City in the Champions League. Right?
How do you come up with a stat like that? Like,
this
what
guy
kind of
is like,
do you need to do?
This guy is incredible, honestly. And then he follows that up with Bellingham is actually the first player to score in any City game who was born after the final game at Main Road. So that is exactly how young the guy is. But while we're on it, yeah, Phil Foden was just unbelievable. Great goal. The goalkeeper should do better. But he had a great performance. And yeah, second half City definitely deserved it. The only thing is, you do look back at the first leg now, and that disallowed goal for Bellingham does seem a bit more crucial now. If I was a Dortmund fan, that would still be making me angry. But we are where we are. We also need to talk about, mate, Haaland still didn't score.
Man, right now, okay, I will try to put these two thoughts that I have together about Haaland. Number one, it's not about Haaland, but how would you feel if you were a Borussia Dortmund fan? I'm just thinking of the Borussia Dortmund squad over the past 10 years. They are always such an exciting squad, so much young talent, but they seem doomed to lose over all of their players. So how can you get excited for your team when you know that the majority of them, they're not going to stay, maybe not even for a few more years? And connecting it to this thought, how do you fucking feel after the first leg when you see Phil Foden just hugging Aaron and just talking, with their mouths covered, like giggling and laughing, like, hey, a little bit of respect for the club that is giving you a name worldwide. There can be talks and all you want, and your agent is Mino Raiola, but man, show a little bit of respect to a fan base that must be fucking frustrated. Always so much talent that doesn't stick there, that is sold to Bayern Munich, that is going to lose at some point. I don't know.
Now, this is going to be a weird comparison, but I'm not saying it's on the same level. But growing up supporting Crew Alexandra, we were very much aware of any good player we had was going to leave at some point. We had a very good youth system. We brought in a lot of decent players, and we always sold them on. Now, what you find is that, the pride you have in the players is when they go on and achieve things, you're like, oh, That guy started out at us. That guy played at us. We made that player, right? And that's where you find the pride. But obviously, when you're a team like Borussia Dortmund, who are a million times bigger than Crew Alexandra, obviously, and you want to be competing for trophies as well, maybe the frustration gets in a bit more there. But I feel like Dortmund fans are very much aware of what their club identity is and what their club objectives are. Like, that has always been their way. Look, we bring in young players for cheap, we sell them for more, and we develop in the meantime. We hope that we win something along the way. I think the fans kind of understand it. Yes, it would be frustrating. If I was the owner of Dortmund by this point, I would say I'm exclusively not selling to Bayern Munich. I will sell to everyone except them. But yeah, I don't know.
We can do an episode about it in the future, but I would need to do a lot of research on it. But when I was researching last year for one of our first joint articles, the 50+1 rule in Germany, I had a sense that football in Germany, running a club in Germany, is like running a company. You basically just run a company. You want to end the quarter with a positive turnover. And that's about it. As long as your turnover is positive and you're doing well, that's it. It seems to me like there is not that desire that there is in other leagues to really push to win the title. There are way less fairy tale stories in the Bundesliga than there are in many other. I think, starting.
But that's also why their league is in a much healthier state than any other league in Europe, right?
And that's why I said that we're going to do it in a future episode with much more research.
Yeah.
But yeah, and moving on to the boring side of the Champions League. I will not be ashamed to say that I haven't watched the highlights for Real Madrid, Liverpool, Real Madrid. I'm sorry. But I know, Rory, that while the game was unfolding, your cousin Chris, friend of the pod, Hardcore Red, kind of updated you with what was going on. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I feel like I watched the game, so shout out Chris. Yeah, it seems like a very, very, very frustrating night for Liverpool. The overarching problem for Liverpool this year has been, since that 7-0 battering of Crystal Palace, that their clinicalness in front of goal has just gone. They can't seem to finish chances, and it seemed here they had lots and lots of chances. Even within the first 2 minutes, I think Salah had a chance that he should have put away. Mane had a pretty terrible game in front of goal. I liked how Jurgen Klopp towards the end just threw every striker he had on the bench and just thought, like, fuck it, we have to get a goal. But ultimately, they could not break down Real Madrid. Real Madrid being Real Madrid. The most professional performance of just, right, nobody make a mistake, wait for 90 minutes to pass, and we are through into the semis. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't take any risks. Although they still had two very good chances, Benzema even hitting the post, so they could have kind of taken the game. But yeah, a game in which Liverpool were allowed to dominate. I think they dominated, but Real Madrid were happy for them to do that, and Real Madrid just sat and waited the game out. Unfortunately, the game was before the game, it was almost ruined because in Liverpool, they have this thing where they like to intimidate the team bus when it arrives in Anfield, right? And I'm absolutely all behind that, right? Get your flares out, shout, scream, do whatever you want, right? But every time there is a coach that drives through Liverpool, some prick thinks it's fine to throw something at the bus. And again, the window was put through by some wanker who threw a bottle. I don't know what it is about Liverpool fans. I'm not tarring all Liverpool fans with this brush, but it does happen every time a team arrives in Liverpool. Something needs to be done there because I'm sick of English clubs being made to look like wankers in Europe, right? And it happens every fucking time. So unfortunately, that was the headline before the game even kicked off. And I think at that point, the Real Madrid players would just be like, right, we're definitely fucking seeing these pricks out. If you know what I mean? So I think it's a shame that happened and it kind of marred the game a little bit. But to go to the performance, Liverpool were unlucky, but also the trend that has followed them throughout the season, their inability to actually put the ball in the back of the net has kind of put pay to their Champions League dreams. we're not sure where it leaves their season now. We're going to come on to it when we're talking about the Prem, but it's going to be a bit of a weird ending of the season for Liverpool fans, considering they had so much to look forward to at the end of last season. It's all kind of petered out this year.
Yeah, man, it's very unfortunate, and I'm sure that a lot of lazy-ish fans could say that it all started with that infamous Merseyside derby in which VVD was injured. Now, I don't think that the missing one centre-back, however, arguably the best centre-back in the world at the moment, could mean such a bad season.
Well, we've just talked about Bayern missing the best striker in the world and PSG missing one of the best midfielders in the world, and they've still got this far, right?
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, the thing that I really feel sad about is Jurgen Klopp. He's a man for which I have a ton of respect in the footballing world. He's had to put through with some very bad moments in his career, lost finals, one Europa League final, one Champions League final, coaching Borussia Dortmund very well when Bayern Munich were that powerhouse that we were talking about with Robben and Ribéry. He went to Liverpool. He brought Liverpool where they belonged after many, many years of suffering. And I was kind of hoping for him as an impartial fan to establish a cycle at Liverpool. And I think that opportunity is now gone. I don't see how Liverpool, with the situation that they're in, they can have a saying in the Premier League, especially now that there is this feeling that Haaland is going to Man City. Manchester United are a very good and competitive team as well. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it just takes a lot of effort to try and keep players like Mohamed Salah this upcoming season.
We also have to, and I don't like this trope, but we also do have to mention the fact that the Premier League is the most competitive league in the world, right? The fact that we've had various winners over quite a short, over years, we've had various winners recently, especially like Liverpool, Chelsea, City, United, right? Like a lot of different teams can win it. So it does mean that it is hard to set up a cycle. But yeah, I was expecting Liverpool, despite my prediction of Chelsea to win the league this year, I was expecting Liverpool to kind of retain the title or make it more of a fist of it and kind of, take their place back at the top of English football. Obviously, it's not happened. The Virgil van Dijk injury is a big part of that, but I think that's not all of it. We also saw the fact that when Jurgen Klopp was at Mainz and when he was at Dortmund, things went badly quickly. Now, I'm not saying this is the same thing, but it's something that has happened previously in his career. So maybe it's something that's once you've had that success, he doesn't quite know how to build on it, or he hasn't had the backing to build on it. Whatever it is, there's a reason there that means that he hasn't been able at any of his clubs to build on the success that he has achieved. Again, I don't know why that is. But, at the end of the season, they'll look back at this season as an absolute disaster, basically. There's no other way of looking at it, especially if they miss out on Champions League, which seems slightly possible now, if not likely. So, yeah, it'll be what a weird season. What a weird season.
Absolutely. And moving on to the next game, I just was thinking, but this is just a thought because I haven't done extensive research on it. But maybe PSG fired Tuchel because they were like, man, we've got so much firepower. We need to use it. We need a more offensive coach. We are tired of conservative games. And I feel like Chelsea advancing with a key win in Porto away 2-0, but then a very try to break the deadlock 0-0 at home kind of tells you something about the manager. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that maybe he's a bit more conservative. He understands that sometimes, while I think that PSG fans, they want to see the show.
Well, if you're throwing all that money around, you want to see entertaining football, right? And I'm not even saying that Tuchel doesn't play entertaining football. Chelsea have been playing some really nice football in the Prem, but he is a more conservative manager. He is more conservative. And the fact that he's tried to see out a 0-0 at home is pretty depressing to a Porto team, right? Now, Porto knocked out Juventus. They are not by far a muggy team, right? They're very good. but to try and see out 0-0 at home, at least try and fucking win. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like a weird one. But what goal? What fucking goal. It was an incredible goal.
Like Max, friend of the pod and friend of ours, said on WhatsApp, I kind of wondered where that was for the previous 94 minutes. We did it too, buddy. But what a goal, man.
Did you
Tell me.
Did you see Tuchel described it as a lucky shot, which is so good.
A lucky shot.
So dismissive of a very, very good goal.
That's not a shot even. That's like acrobatics in full display. But yeah, I don't know. I think that you were saying if Lewandowski had been in the tie, it would have been completely different. I think that if Tuchel had been on that tie with Bayern Munich, they would have gone to Bayern Munich with a completely different attitude.
Oh, God, yeah.
This said, I'm pulling this off the top of my head. I'm not sure if this is true, but I believe that the last time that Chelsea changed the manager midway through the season, they did win the Champions League, right?
They did. It was with Di Matteo, the least manager of all time. They're all the stories that came out were that John Terry and Frank Lampard were basically managing that team at that point. But yeah, Di Matteo, forever a Champions League winning manager. So can't take that off him.
I think about Di Matteo just like talking to his grandkids one day in front of the fireplace, and then he's just gonna be like, "Yeah, and one day I did win the Champions League." Wait, what? Yeah, I did win the Champions League. Wait, tell us that.
Was that a dream or... No, it did happen. It did happen.
It did happen. No, wait a second. Was that Rapunzel? No. We did win the Champions League. But, hey, Chelsea are in the semifinals. They are the rank outsiders now. Does this help them, Rory?
I think it does. There's zero pressure on them. Absolutely no pressure on them.
None.
They've got Real Madrid next, right? So nobody's expecting them to get through against Real Madrid. Nobody, right? So I think... yeah, this absolutely works in their favour. And on the same hand, as much as I think Real Madrid will go through, I could see Chelsea doing something. Like, they've got a very good squad. Tuchel he's only lost one game, two now, in charge of Chelsea, right? So I think, they've definitely got a chance. I think the lack of pressure is going to help them. The players can go out there and just give it their all. It doesn't matter. The fans don't expect it. I think... dark horses. I would be surprised to see him in the final, but at the same time, I wouldn't. Does that make sense?
It does. And when we talk about Real Madrid being the powerhouse and like you're not expecting to go through with Real Madrid, let's not forget that Real Madrid, just like Barcelona, however, Barcelona in the National League, in La Liga, but Real Madrid have been very good this year at disguising the major problems that they're having at that club. Eden Hazard has been missing for a very long time. They have kept going through the rounds, but let's not forget where they're coming from. They were in that group with Inter Milan, Shakhtar Donetsk, and until the last day, we did not know who was gonna go through. So Real Madrid, I think they're actually a very exciting draw for Chelsea in the Champions League semifinals. And I think that Chelsea could have a saying because, as I was saying, Real Madrid have disguised themselves as this powerhouse that they're clearly not. They are basically just...
I don't know. I think they've just peaked at the right end of the season. I think they've peaked at the right time.
But I think that here we will see what Tuchel is really about. I think that a very good manager here is going to pinpoint like Real Madrid weaknesses and try to get a 1-0 win in Madrid and a 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge or something like that. We will see. I'm very curious about this tie. Who do you think is going to go through, though?
I think Real Madrid are favourites. Real Madrid are definitely favourites. I'm going to say Real Madrid. So we have a PSG-Real Madrid final by my reckoning, apparently.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I'm going to say Real Madrid, so Inter Milan are going to get less stick for being eliminated from the group stage. But Rory...
we went out to the winners, so shut up.
We have a lot to cover still, but we're going to do it rather quickly. Tonight, we're recording on a Thursday. As always, it's Europa League action.
I'm so nervous. Nervous.
After a beautiful 1-1 draw at home.
Come on, mate. There we go.
Yeah, at home. They are going back to Prague. And are they going to win, Rory, or not? Make a fool of yourself. Come on, please.
Knows. I saw a stat the other day that Prague they've only lost at home 3 times in 5 years. And that was to Inter Milan, it was to Real Madrid, and I think it was to Liverpool. So they have a very, very, very good record at home. Do I believe we can do it? Yes. Do I think we'll do it? To be decided. I don't know. We have to score. So that's the biggest problem. They can just sit back and just wait for us to fucking kill ourselves like we always do. But we need to score the goal. So, God, I'm nervous. If we lose this, our season is over. Our season is dusted. We're in the Crystal Palace zone of just sitting on the beach and waiting for fucking September to arrive.
Yeah, apparently Arsenal have made. Man, I read this headline quickly today. Arsenal have made a concrete offer for Hakimi. Neither the club nor the player have.
Yeah, what? Arsenal fans, right, on Twitter, stop talking about getting Hakimi. We're not fucking getting Hakimi. It's not happening. We might as well talk about getting fucking Mbappe. Like, it's just not happening.
If you were Hakimi and you will probably win the league in Italy at your first season at Inter Milan, would you want to go to England to compete with Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Tottenham, Everton, West Ham to play with Arsenal? Would you, Rory? Well, you would.
Well, I fucking would, obviously, but I think
Hakimi wouldn't.
All of these, there's one thing. All of these stories are coming out of English newspapers, for one, right? And they all seem to assume that every player wants to play in England. They all assume that every player's natural career progression is, I want to end up in the Premier League. No, not everybody fucking loves the Prem, right? Some players are just quite happy to play in the other very good leagues of Italy, Spain, France, Germany, right? All these stories are coming out of English papers. It's lazy. We're not going to get him. He's not going to be interested. That being said, if we do, you are never hearing the fucking end of it, by the way. But I don't think we will.
Roma Ajax 2-0. 2-1, sorry, after the first leg. Who do you think is going to go through?
I think Roma can do it. They're at home, right? Roma are going to do it.
I think Roma are going to do it too, and I'm going to say it right here, right now. I think that Roma are going to win the Europa League.
No, wait, come on. Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. If they knock out United, then fucking fine, because my biggest fear at the moment is us getting through Slavia Prague, us getting past Emery, and then we fucking lose to United. So I need Roma to knock United out.
Man, Fonseca is a manager that knows his shit. He's just getting used to coaching in a shit house like Roma. I think that the manager is a very good manager. We know about Roma underperforming against the top 6, if we want to call them that, Italian teams. But then you see, he goes to Amsterdam, they're 1-0 down. Somehow they scrape a win. I think that they might be in for the title. We shall see. Man United Granada 2-0. I think it's set, right?
That's done, that one, yeah.
That's done. And Villarreal, Dinamo Zagreb, we start from the 1-0 of the first leg. I think that Dinamo Zagreb are going to advance.
I'm going to back Good Evening, and I'm going to back Emery. I think he's won this competition 3 times, Tommy. Don't forget, he just couldn't fucking win it with us, could he? Prick. But, he's won it 3 times, so he could get there. Instead, he got us battered by Chelsea in the final. Cheers, mate.
Wow, my soul is lighter now that we've done a mock review of the Europa League. I feel like it was a competition.
You know what? I honestly think finally the Europa League is starting. People are starting to pay a bit of attention to it, man. People are starting to realize that once you get to the quarterfinals, it gets pretty good. It just takes a long time to get good. Maybe I've just had to tell myself that because we've been in it for 4 years. But
we've both, and this is not something very likely considering we support 2 teams with a very bad history, but both of our teams were in the final in the past 5 years, but both of our teams lost the final.
Yeah, it's not fun, is it? It's really not fun. At least, Tommy, imagine you lose it to AC Milan 4-1.
Shut up. No.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, mate, it was, oh my God, it was fucking brutal, that game.
Do you remember
that? God, it was awful.
That night you met that super friendly friend of mine who, without knowing you, just started being like, oh, you support Arsenal? But Arsenal are shit.
Mate, you were like, just after we'd lost the final, right?
Yeah, you were like,
oh my God.
With all due respect to your mate, take him away from me now.
Yeah. I was like, Tommy, I don't know who this prick is, but can you get rid of him? Because I'm honestly about to swing for him. Went, oh, but you never win anything, you lot. Sorry, who are you? What's your name again? Like, oh man.
And
Brutal.
Rory, now I invite you to take a very big breath. We've been very Champions League centered. We got to wrap this up before our extensive weekly topic dedicated to Euro 2000. I give ourselves 10 minutes and 10 seconds to round up Europe's top 5 leagues this upcoming weekend. Let's start from the Premier League. Rory, what action is upon us?
Starting in the Premier League on Friday night, we have, let me find it. My notes are really long. Not that long, really. But Premier League, we have Friday night, Everton versus Tottenham, 9 o'clock. Last time, Everton won 1-0. Thanks to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. This was in the very, very early on in the season. The last time they actually played was in the FA Cup, and it was a mental 5-4. Everton winning that again. So Everton, very good recent record against Tottenham. They could overtake Spurs into 7th if they win. If Everton do win this, I think it puts pay to Tottenham's Champions League hopes if they're not already over. Then on Sunday, there's not really much football. It's all midweek. I've jumped to Sunday. Obviously, I have to mention the Arsenal game. Arsenal versus Fulham, Sunday at 2:30. Last time, Willian got 3 assists. So it was by far his best performance for Arsenal. Can he do the same again? Fulham now look too far adrift. I think they've lost 4 in a row and they're 6 points adrift from relegation. It could be over for Scott Parker and his boys. Then on Monday, we have Leeds United versus Liverpool. What a run of fixtures for Bielsa. City away and then Liverpool at home. Obviously, last time this was 4-3 with a Mo Salah hat-trick. Absolute barn burner of a game, so definitely don't want to miss this on Monday night. Liverpool could go into 5th above Chelsea if they win. Chelsea are playing Brighton, so maybe not. But if Liverpool do lose this, could they be out of the Champions League next year? We just don't know. Both teams have won their last 4 in a row, so both in blinding form. And then that's it. I think those are the games I've said are the standouts for the Premier League this weekend. Tommy, let's do Serie A.
In Serie A, Sunday, get ready at 3 p.m. for the final Champions League push. We've got a big game. Atalanta-Juventus. You want to see it. You don't want to miss it. Atalanta-Juventus, they are currently sitting respectively 4th at 61 points and the 3rd at 62. Needless to say, a win in this tie would be fundamental for either teams. And on Sunday night, we've got Napoli-Inter. Now, historically, Inter always have a very hard time when playing away at Naples. I do believe that this year in the Coppa Italia, if I'm not mistaken, we turned that bad luck around. Very interesting game. I'm very curious to see how Gattuso is going to manage his tactics around against relentless Inter Milan, whom I haven't said it the last episode, 11 consecutive wins in Serie A. Let's go, baby. However, recently, Inter have mainly won their games by a 1-goal deficit. 1-0 against Atalanta, 2-1 against Turin, 1-0 against Bologna, 2-1 against Sassuolo, 1-0 against Cagliari. I think that the tactics also for Conte are going to be different this time around. Unlucky Crotone get to play Udinese. Now, they are not mathematically in Serie B. We've already covered how unlucky they have been, always losing games by a 1-goal deficit. They score 3, the opposition scores 4. So, if they pay attention to the defense for once, Serse Cosmi and our friend Nicolò Zanellato, please give us some hope for what is their name? The Sharks to stay in Serie A.
Really? Oh, shit, yeah. I love that.
The Sharks, yeah, man. Then always on Saturday, we've got Sampdoria Verona, Sassuolo Fiorentina. Guys, the Vlahovic bomb has fully exploded. You don't want to miss any game in which this guy is playing. And then we've got Cagliari Parma, another very interesting relegation battle. They are currently in the drop zone. Cagliari are 18th at 22 points. Parma are 19th at 20th. The first team out of the drop zone is quite far away, but this is the time to start putting points under the belt. We've also got on Sunday at 12:30 AC Milan Genoa, As I've already said, Atalanta-Juventus at 3 p.m., Bologna-Spezia, Lazio-Benevento, Torino-Roma, and finally Napoli-Inter. Rory, what are the headlines for the Bundesliga?
In the Bundesliga, it is all about Adi Hutter, who has decided that he's going to leave Frankfurt, who are currently in third place, to take over at Borussia Mönchengladbach, who are 13 points below them in 8th place. So, really, it seems from the outside, seems like it's quite a strange decision. It's been announced that he's going to take over at the start of next season. For Frankfurt fans, I don't know how I would feel about this. You kind of feel like a mass exodus is coming, or he doesn't have faith in the project. They look like they're going to be in the Champions League next year. Mönchengladbach definitely aren't going to be. Quite a strange decision for me, I think. But that has been the main headline. Beyond that, the games this weekend, the ones to look forward to. We have Wolfsburg versus Bayern, so third place taking on first. That's on Saturday at 3:30. Are Bayern going to struggle further without Lewandowski? Last time Bayern won this 2-1. 2 goals from who, Tommy?
Lewandowski.
From Lewandowski, of course it was. On down at the bottom of the table, Mainz, who beat Köln last weekend in a relegation battle, find themselves up against another relegation rival this weekend as they take on Hertha. Last time it was 0-0. Mainz are currently 2 points ahead of Hertha. Both teams are out of the relegation spots at the moment, but could quite easily be dragged in. That game is on Sunday at 6 o'clock. So these are the games for me that I think you should look out for. Beyond that, we have Dortmund against Werder on Sunday at 3:30, and RB Leipzig are taking on Hoffenheim tomorrow night, or tonight for you guys, at 8:30 at home.
And in Spain, I will remind you how the table is looking. Atletico Madrid first at 67, followed by Real Madrid 66, followed by Barcelona at 65. What does this mean? That Atletico, the first in the league, take on the last of the league, the best defense against one of the worst defenses in the league. Atletico Madrid a bar, while Real Madrid take on Getafe away. They should be 2 fairly easy games for both Madrid teams. However, let's not forget that Atletico have won only 2 in their last 5, losing 2 and drawing 1. The pressure is on from Los Blancos. Simeone cannot bottle this. Possibly they only have the league to focus on, and they better. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know that we've absolutely jinxed it, and we don't want to start next season with the reputation of the Spanish jinxers.
That's a cheeky little Madrid derby as well, you know, Real Madrid Getafe.
Yeah,
cheeky little Madrid derby. Yeah,
it is. Then very interesting, Real Betis Valencia at 6:30 on Sunday, while the other interesting game could be Real Sociedad Sevilla. But it's not all La Liga, it's also Copa del Rey. Si, senor, it is. Because this weekend, the mighty Barcelona take on Athletic Club, the only team in the world able to play 2 finals from 2 different years in the space of 2 weeks.
Is it the only competition they're competing in at the minute? It feels like they're forever in the Copa del Rey. What's going on?
Man, it's Copa del Rey season, I guess. They are going to play at Estadio La Cartuja, that I'm not quite sure what stadium that is, but Athletic Club Barcelona is on Saturday night at 9:30 p.m.
It's the stadium in Seville. There you go.
There you go. La Cartuja. Nice. But we're not quite done. Rory, take us to France, s'il vous plaît.
To France. We have Lille, who it seems forever play on Friday nights. I don't know the last time they didn't play on a Friday. They are playing against Montpellier at home at 9 o'clock. Can they keep the title charge going? We are not saying anything. We do not want to jinx it. I'm just telling you they're playing and they're top of the league. Beyond that, PSG, second place PSG, are playing Saint-Etienne on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Saint-Etienne desperately trying to stay out of this relegation battle and not get dragged in. PSG, of course, trying to chase down the Dogs. Then we have Monaco. They are playing Bordeaux away on Sunday at 5:05. And to complete the top four, Lyon are at home to Nantes, struggling Nantes on Sunday at 9 o'clock. Another game you might want to keep an eye on is Marseille versus Lorient on Saturday at 5 o'clock. And maybe our favourite French team now, my favourite French team, Lens are playing away to Brest, lol, on Sunday at 3 o'clock.
Rory, we've done it.
With 5 seconds to spare, man.
3, 2, 1, boom. And now it's finally time, Rory. I let you introduce it because this one is one to savor. What are we going to talk about in our weekly topic?
Well, seeming as this week we were greeted with the fantastic news that there is going to be 25% capacity in the stadiums at Euro 2021, we've decided to look back at one of the first tournaments of our life, like we did, you might fondly remember, in the France 98 special. The Tournaments of Our Life series continues with Euro 2000. Honestly, I had completely forgotten about this tournament, and you're about to find out why people in England do not want to remember this tournament. And we are in the summer of 2000. The radios are blasting out the banger of Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again. The cinemas are filled with people watching George Clooney battle bravely in a boat to survive a storm. People are turning their Nokia phones onto silent. And thankfully, we managed to survive the Millennium Bug. And of course, we're about to start Euro 2000, a tournament that is quite keenly forgotten in England, and I think fondly remembered in Italy.
Man, so I was very young at the time. I was 7 years old. I do remember the final and the semifinal more than the game itself. I do remember just the atmosphere and people talking about it. But now with you telling me about whoops, I did it again, the perfect storm and Nokia phones, memories are coming back. This tournament is remembered with a bleeding heart, I would say, by Italians, as we saw our arch enemies, as we called them, the cousins from the other side of the Alps, or the Italians in a bad mood, stole the cup from us in the dying minutes of the fucking final. But we are here not to talk about my feelings about that final, but we're here to take you through this beautiful tournament. Now, Euro 2000, but let's take a step back and let's go to Euro 1996, which was held in England. Germany had won their third title ever in a final against the revelation Czech Republic. Italy hadn't made it past the group topped by Germany and the Czech Republic, which would find themselves in the final, while England, Rory, you might remember this, were eliminated on penalties in the semifinals with a crucial mistake by...
Oh, was that Gareth Southgate?
Gareth Harold Southgate.
He should never have the England manager's job just for that moment.
But then we go to the 2000, the first year of the new millennium, and Monaco win Ligue 1. Deportivo La Coruña win Primera División, which is the former name for La Liga. Manchester United top the Premier League. Bayern Munich win Bundesliga. And Lazio in Italy claim the Serie A title. In Europe, Real Madrid win the Champions League final against Valencia, while the UEFA Cup is lifted by Fatih Terim's man of Galatasaray. Do you have any recollection of all this, Rory?
Well, I do remember, and we're going to talk about him later, Steve McManaman scoring in that final. And I'm pretty sure Galatasaray beat Arsenal in the UEFA Cup final that year, but I'd have to double check that. Now, this tournament is, honestly, when we went back and watched the documentary, I felt like I'd gained a new tournament because I remembered nothing about it. Like France 98, I remember pretty vividly. I remember watching the games. I remember the emotional investment. I remember the tears when Beckham got sent off. I remember a lot about that tournament. Euro 2000 just seemed to kind of pass me by, and I would argue kind of pass England by. People really weren't excited about this tournament. The England team were really it had been a weird build up to this tournament. We're going to get into it. Are we going to get into it now?
Let's get into it now. So England there were different qualification groups, but only the top team in the group would qualify directly to the final stage of the European Championship. England didn't. They arrived second, and they had to play the playoffs against Scotland, and they advanced.
Now, this was crazy. So the last ever England-Scotland game at Wembley, Scotland won 1-0, right? So England won 2-0 in Hampden Park, both goals from Scholes, which really feels really weird. And then they lost at home at Wembley, 1-0, but managed to get through. Now, the qualification process for England had been a bit of a disaster. There was a lot of ill discipline within the team. Glenn Hoddle had released a book after France 98, very 90s-ish, called My 98 Story. And apparently it upset a lot of players because it said a lot of stories from within the changing rooms that players did not want in the public. This meant that the team was kind of fluctuating, not really on side. A lot of players were getting sent off. Results weren't looking good. And then, now people in England will be more than aware of what I'm about to talk about. Glenn Hoddle held a very notorious press conference where he said some pretty outrageous things about disabled people, and then he got fired. So Glenn Hoddle's a weird guy, right? He's a weird guy. He's into...
Let's go back. What the fuck?
He's into reincarnation, right? So when he was in charge of England, a very famous story with Ray Parlour. He brought in this woman called Eileen Drury, right? Eileen Drury was a spiritualist. She was like into all these hanging crystals over you and healing and blah, blah, blah. He was into this, and he brought in this woman to look after the players like a physio. Now, Ray Parlour sits down in front of this woman and he says to her, short back and sides, right? Just taking the piss. He never gets picked for England again under Hoddle, right? Never picked again. So Hoddle is a weird guy, and his beliefs around reincarnation are pretty strange. But basically what he said was, I don't want to get the quote wrong because it makes me sound terrible, but he says something about disabled people are disabled because they've done something wrong in a past life. Now, he said this in a press conference in his England fucking polo shirt, in an England press conference, and obviously he did not last long after that, right? It's pretty horrific views, right? We can all agree, awful. I'm kind of half laughing at it because it's so ridiculous. Such
Do you know
if
he's friends with a certain Raymond Domenech? Because I think that they could get along with the amount of bullshit that they spit out.
I feel like Domenech might have managed him at some point, but I need to check that. Anyway,
wow. That would tell a lot.
He definitely played in France. I need to double check that. Anyway, but it meant that the England camp was all over the place, right? So they bring in Kevin Keegan, right? Everybody loves Keggy. Nicest man in football, lovely, friendly, but the players know they can take the piss out of him, right? He's also rather 90s-ish again. He's manager of a club and country at the same time. So he's in charge of Fulham, and he takes the England job part-time, which honestly, I've only ever seen on Football Manager. It's one of my favorite things to do on Football Manager is run a club and a country at the same time, but you never get it anymore. Bring it back. Anyway, Keegan only originally agrees to take over the team for 4 games, but then eventually they twist his arm and he takes on the tournament. But the team is not looking, it's just not looking convincing. Like you said, they squeeze through the group. And this is the beginning of England not having a left-sided player or a left-footed player, right? There was one player, Jason Wilcox, I believe he played for Leeds at the time, fairly average, fairly competent player, but he was the one left winger that we had. Once he was injured, we were in trouble. We then had to play Steve McManaman out on the left, who just won the Champions League. I believe the double with Real Madrid as well, actually. No, he won the Champions League. Deportivo won it. Anyway, just won the Champions League, scoring in the final. He was shifted out to the left. And I need to talk about, I think Steve McManaman is one of the most underrated English players of all time. People do not respect how fucking good that guy was. He was a bloody good player. But anyway, England go into the squad in really bad shape. And their group is pretty... Look, you'd expect them to get through it, right? They are up against Portugal, Romania, and Germany. So there's 3 big teams there, really. But Germany, this isn't the Germany that we kind of look back on, and this isn't the Germany that we see now, right? In '98, they had a pretty terrible tournament, right? And in 2000, they are not in much better shape. So they ultimately finished bottom of the group, which is crazy to say.
And I mean, they didn't have, if you look at their squad, they didn't have big names. The one big name was Lothar Matthaus, but he was 39 years old.
Old as shit. And their main striker was...
Yeah, Oliver Kahn, the goalkeeper, was 30. Bierhoff, the captain, was 32. There was one, out of the names that I read, there was one name that became big afterwards. He was a midfielder for Leverkusen at the time. He was 23, and he went by the name of Michael Ballack. But the other names, man, I've heard them, but nothing impressive has ever come out.
Like, you're looking at a squad, Carsten Janker was their best striker. I am going to take exception and say, hey, they had a young Jens Lehmann in the squad. Young? Jesus, he was 30 at that point.
Was 30.
What?
He was 30. So when he played the World Cup with Germany, the same thing when I read that number, I was like, what? There's got to be something wrong. So no.
How old was he when he was at Arsenal? anyway.
I guess, this means that he was born in 1970.
Just blown my mind. Anyway,
before we dive in the groups, let's take a look at the strongest teams going into this tournament. Now, for the qualification, the only team that qualified to the Euros with full points, winning each one of their game, was the Czech Republic. They had been in the final 4 years before. They won 10 games out of 10. They qualified top of the group, the only team in Europe to do so. Romania also qualified with 25 out of 30. Norway with 25 out of 30 as well. And Sweden, that forced England to the playoffs, with 22 out of 25. Yugoslavia qualified with 17 out of 24. 17 out of 24. Germany, 19 out of 24. And even though they top their groups, there is a lot of rumors about the team being possibly the worst team that Germany has ever gone to an international tournament with. And then Spain and France both qualify with 21 out of 24 points. What about Italy? Italy qualified with 15. And now, despite the squad that they had, there was great skepticism around the team that had highly struggled to qualify to the final stage of the competition. 2 draws against Belarus. Now, Switzerland were eliminated, finishing 3rd with 14 points, even with Denmark, and Italy qualified top of the group with only 1 point more than them. As if this wasn't enough, right before the final list of players that are going to travel to Belgium and the Netherlands, Vieri and Buffon pick up an injury. They're ruled out of the squad. Italy will have to rely on a very young 23-year-old Francesco Totti up front. We had also Inzaghi, Del Piero, but the goalkeeper gloves go to Francesco Toldo. Remember the name. Other teams, well, I would say that the scariest team of them all was France. Now, just to give you an idea of the France squad that year, they were the World Cup holders, of course. They had won in 1998, and they were by far the best-looking team in the competition. Lineup for the first game versus Portugal, Barthez. 4-man defense with Thuram, Desailly, Blanc, Lizarazu. Midfield, Vieira, Deschamps, and Petit. And up front, Zidane, right behind Henry and Anelka, and Trezeguet waiting to score that golden goal.
That is an Arsenal heavy as fuck squad. I love it.
Funny stat. Do you know who were the only 2 teams to feature only players that played in their national league, Rory?
Okay. I'm going to go for 2 teams that historically are quite strong in this field, and Italy is definitely one of them.
Yes.
But I've just mentioned McManaman played for Real Madrid, so it's not England. I don't know.
The other one was Spain. England,
really? Wow, okay.
England only had one player playing abroad, McManaman at Real Madrid, while Turkey had both a player in England and one in Scotland. But Spain and Italy were the only teams featuring...
Wait, the Turkish player in England. Two guy.
Let me check right now. I will have
or Alpay is one of them. Two guy or Alpay.
Where is the Turkish flag? The one who was playing for Rangers was Tugay Kerimoglu. You are right. And the one who was playing for Leicester was Mudzi.
Mudzi, is it? Oh, damn it! I should have got that one.
Yes, it is.
Very good.
And then Portugal also looked pretty sexy. Vitor Bahia in goal, whom Rory and I have thoroughly discussed, really looks like Tommy Flanagan in The Gladiator. Conceição, who at the time played for Lazio. Figo, wow, what a summer it would be for Figo. That is the summer. So the tournament took place literally days before his controversial transfer to Real Madrid. And in November, he would win the Ballon d'Or for what he had done at Barcelona, but he was awarded it at the Santiago Bernabeu. Cool. Rui Costa playing for Fiorentina and Nuno Gomes. Rory, remember our reaction when we saw all those Gomes goals in the competition?
I swear he was a fairly average striker, right? And then we watched it back and I was like, holy shit, this guy's ridiculous. He was hitting so many sweet goals in that tournament, those sweet, sweet goals. And it really, again, like I said, I was only, how old was I at this point? 10. And I think maybe my memory serves me wrong, but I thought I could have sworn he was a fairly average striker. I'm just looking at his statistics now. That's because I only remember him from Blackburn, where he was pretty terrible. But his numbers for Benfica are pretty crazy. Even at Fiorentina, he did all right. So, yeah, maybe it's just false memories. But in this tournament, he seemed to be setting it on fire. And Portugal, now you have to remember, this was the height of their, as they named it, the golden generation, right? This was the team that they thought was going to finally bring them their first piece of silverware. Now, spoiler alert, obviously it wasn't to be, but that squad is a bloody good squad. Like you said, they've got Couto, Sousa, Figo, Rui Costa, Conceição, Costinha, Pauleta, Nuno Gomes. This is a very, very strong squad.
And finally, the hosts. Well, not Belgium, because they were pretty bad. But I'm talking, of course, about the Netherlands. They are playing at home. They haven't won a tournament since 1988, a European Championship. And man, their team, wow. Van der Sar in goal, Stam, who at the time played for United, Barcelona's captain Frank de Boer, Seedorf, who at the time played at Inter Milan, and he had already won not one, but 2 Champions Leagues. Koku for Barcelona, Edgar Davids, who played at Juventus, iconic glasses, goggles, how can you not remember them? Bergkamp for Arsenal, and Kluivert for Barcelona. Wow, a lot of big names going into this tournament. Bim, boom, bam. We start group draw. What about England's group, Rory? Take us through it.
So we have England have to face up against the aforementioned incredible squad of Portugal, the not-so-incredible squad of Germany, and the surprisingly good squad of Romania. A few names in the Romania team did jump out to me. Adrian Mutu played in this tournament. What? I feel like my history memory is all over the place.
12 years old.
As well as Christian Kivu as well. So this was a very, very good Romania team. Now, obviously, England, they got off to such a good start. They start their game. First game of the tournament, they've got Portugal. 3 minutes in, boom, Scholes scores 1-0. Then 18 minutes in, boom, McManaman volleys in a Beckham cross. England cruising. It's 2-0. Football is coming home. Keggy is going to bring it back. But unfortunately, Figo then absolutely bangs one into the top corner. And suddenly Portugal have a lifeline. They then go on to win 3-2. And all of a sudden, things are starting to shake for England. They then get their one win of the tournament. And could you pick a sweeter win to get than against the old enemy? All the, cliches, great escape music, I love the Queen, etc. We beat Germany 1-0. But then all we have to do in our final game is draw against Romania. Just a point. That'll do. But
Just
before
one.
the game, David Seaman, England first choice keeper for a fair while at this point, in the warm-up, pulls up with a hamstring, and we have to bring in number 2, Nigel Martyn. Now, Nigel Martyn was a very good keeper, played for Leeds most of his career, very capable, but I always feel like if there's one position of a player you don't want to get injured in the warm-up, is goalkeeper, right? I feel like you have to be so mentally prepared as a goalkeeper that you do not want to just be 5 minutes before kickoff, oh, mate, you're in, right? Especially as you've gone from, I'm definitely not going to play, to, oh, fuck, I'm playing, right? So the second goal for Portugal, Nigel Martyn, he comes out for a cross, punches it straight to the Portugal player. He smashes it in the goal, 2-2. And then Phil Neville gives away a stupid... Oh, no, wait, this is against Portugal. I'm getting lost again. No, this is against Romania. Yeah, Phil Neville gives away a stupid penalty, 89th minute. He tucks it away. England lose, and they're out of the tournament. Tournament over. There we go. Go home, boys. Go home.
They are coming home, not it's coming home.
That's it.
The boys are
exactly.
taking a plane.
And this is like from this point, Tommy. Honestly, we're just going to look at the tournament through the lens of Italy, because England now, the players are in Marbella on the beach, just fucking loving life. Like they are out so early, it's depressing.
But it was a very hard-fought group, with Germany getting only 1 point after a tie with Romania, a loss to England, and a loss to Portugal. England are out. Romania make it with 4 points, 1 win and 1 draw. But really, the big-time standout team is Portugal. They win 3 out of 3 in the game against England that Roy already mentioned, but the most standout game is the last one, with current Porto manager Sergio Conceição, Lazio player at the time, scoring 1 at the 35th, 1 at the 54th, and 1 at the 71st minute mark. It really looks like the golden generation is in for
we have to say, this group was great entertainment value. We've got, and I'm going to do some really quick maths here. We've got 7, 8, 9, 14, 17 goals in this group alone. That is a lot of goals, right?
That is an exciting group. This was Group A, while in Group B, we've got Italy, Turkey, Belgium, and Sweden. Now, the first game for Italy. How did it look? Well, it was a quite comfortable win, 2-1, versus Turkey. Now, what is the funny thing about this game is that it was played, listen, on June 11th, 2000. And what's the first game of this year's Euros? Italy, Turkey on June 11th, ladies and gentlemen. History repeats itself. Hopefully, we'll win again 2-1. Now, in my notes, I wrote down comfortable win in quotation marks because we won thanks to a very clumsy bicycle kick by Inter manager Antonio Conte and the penalty taken by Antonio Conte and converted by Inzaghi. In reality, the Turks really tried hard to bring some points home. They hit the woodwork on multiple occasions, and they scored a goal thanks to Okan, the shortest player in the field, who was able to score a header in a defense with Nesta, Maldini, and Cannavaro. Now here, the mistake was by Toldo, who was quite lucky to play in that tournament, but don't worry, he will mean a lot to the Azzurri. 3 days later, great win versus Belgium, 2-0, clinical win. The hosts are never really in the game, but when they are, Toldo shuts them down, and eventually Totti and Fiore both appear on the score sheet. Now, 2 games into the Euros, Italy are automatically top of their group going into the quarterfinals. And now, I don't think it would be regarded as a very ethical decision but our manager, Dino Zoff, decided to field the team of second-string players, while there were other teams in our group that had a lot to play for. One of these players, notably, was 25-year-old Alessandro Del Piero, who already had quite a strong reputation in Italy, but he had been forced on the bench by the rise and the explosion of 23-year-old Francesco Dottier Pupone. Together with Italy, Turkey also incredibly make it for the first time in their history to the quarterfinals by defeating Belgium 2-1. thanks to a Sukur brace in the dying seconds of the match. Rory, take us through Group C, please.
I wanted to quickly mention the Italy shirts for this tournament are absolutely beautiful.
But what did we say about them, Rory?
I can't wear it because I've got far too much of a belly on me. It would look horrific. It's the first one. Guys, think in your head, Italy shirt. It's that one, right? It's the really skin tight blue, absolutely beautiful shirt, but you have to have the body of a god to wear it. And thankfully for that Italian team, most of them did. So they looked fine.
And one thing, I have to say that Italy and Portugal are the winners of this tournament for what concerns just the style. They were so 2000. They embodied the early 2000s spirit. Look at Portugal, the long, greasy hair, the headbands, the flashy jerseys. Change the jersey and you've got the Italy team. So I feel like to be really 2000s, you had to really boast out your Mediterraneity, I feel like. And I feel like Italy did it very,
I
very
think
well.
That honestly, it is like the definition of what someone would think Italians would want to look like is that shirt.
Yes, and again, yes. We are now at Group C, where we had Spain topping the group with 6 points, Yugoslavia second with 4, and Norway didn't quite make the cut with 4 points, and also Slovenia were eliminated with 2. Now, Rory, when we watched this documentary, we were once again highly underwhelmed by the Spain squad. Am I correct?
Yeah, really not. I feel like this is the height of Spain being the perpetual disappointers in tournaments, right? It's always just a bit kind of like Belgium are now, maybe. But I'm just looking through the squad now, and actually there's some pretty big names. You've got Santiago Canizares, Salgado, Aranzabal, Guardiola, Hierro, Higuera, Fran, Raul, Casillas. They've got some Mendieta, Echeverria, like they've got some Valderon, got some very, very good players. But like I said, it's the height of Spain being the promising moment so much, but offering so little. But despite that, they do top the group. But the other squad that stood out from us in this group, and I believe it's their last tournament, is Yugoslavia.
Yes. Now, I was reading the names, and besides Mihailovic and Stankovic, I didn't quite remember the other players in that team. Now, maybe you're a little older than me, and you might...
Thank you. There is also...
a little older. I was 7, man. I don't know. You were 10.
Yeah, I was 10.
Football more than I was.
So there is also Savo Milosevic, who had played in England for 3 years at this point for Aston Villa. There's another name that stood out to me. Savo Milosevic, Stankovic, Mihailovic, a lot of itches. Darko Kovacevic, who was great. He was playing for Juventus at the time, had a very good career in Spain, and a very young, I believe he might have been one of the first quiz answers on this pod. Mateja Kezman was in this squad. That name, when I saw that, I was like when I saw Mutu, I was like, wait, what? Kezman in the 2000s. I remember him at Chelsea or maybe 08. It kind of makes sense, I suppose. But anyway, kind of blew my mind.
One incredible stat about Mateja Kezman at this tournament, he was one of 3 Yugoslavian players with a last name not ending in ich. Mateja Kezman, Albert Nad, and Ivica Kralj. All the other ones, ich.
While we're at that, this stat sticks in my mind forever, and it is, I can't remember what tournament it was, but there was one Italian player whose name didn't end in a vowel.
Well, Buffon?
Yeah. Every other player, their name ended in a vowel. Anyway, nothing to do with this. Continue. Yugoslavia.
Yeah, so we had Yugoslavia that squeezed through this group. There was a very exciting draw against Slovenia, 3-3. Then there was another very exciting tie between Yugoslavia and Spain. Spain eventually won 4-3 thanks to a Mendieta penalty at the 90th minute. So Spain and Yugoslavia advance. And finally, in Group D, surprise, guess who did not top their group? France, because the Netherlands did so. And this is one of the biggest talking points at this point in the competition, because France were, of course, considered to be, they were the World Cup holders, they were the most in shape team going into this tournament, but they lose the matchup against the Netherlands 3-2.
Yeah, we watched back this game, and just seeing those two squads facing off against each other was absolutely beautiful. But yeah, it did seem like an weirdly underwhelming start from France. Despite like 2 wins, I think that Netherlands win was the chance for them to put their foot down and be like, right, we are the kind of, champions elect. But like we said, that Netherlands squad, whilst we were talking about Spain, teams that flat out to deceive, let's talk about Holland. But we also want to talk about Patrick Kluivert, who I forgot how well he did this tournament and how lethal he was. Like, again, I remember him mainly from his time in Barcelona, a bit in Newcastle towards the end of his career. But in this tournament, he seemed to be really like one of the in-form strikers in Europe. And again, if we're going to talk about iconic shirts, that Holland shirt is just beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Off we go to the quarterfinals. On June 24th, Portugal take on Turkey, and they come out 2-0 winners, thanks to a brace by, of course, Nuno Gomes. He is, by the way, the most 2000-looking player in that tournament, by far.
Yeah.
Portugal overcome Turkey 2-0, and on the same day, 2 hours and 45 hours later, the Azzurri play against Romania.
I just realised we were robbed of an Italy-England tie there. Robbed. That could have been Italy-England.
Could have been a whole other episode of the Anglo-Italian pod. Italy play Romania, who come into this tie with a great reputation. In fact, they are the ones that made it out of the group of death with Portugal, England, and Germany. And I was reading an article about this. We've watched a documentary, read a few articles, and actually more than one article, they mentioned the tension that there was around this game. Like, Italy were kind of shitting their pants. It feels like fear is all over the stadium. Both teams looks very cautious, but then a very young Roma captain, Pupone, the most beautiful of Euro 2000, scores a very sexy goal thanks to a beautiful Fiore assist at the 32nd minute in the first half to make it 1-0. And in the second half, Demetrio Albertini, what are you doing? What a sexy thread ball to Filippo Inzaghi had really online with the offside. He's the first one to get there. The goalkeeper is out, dribbles the goalkeeper, ball in. Italy go through to the quarterfinals.
But we also need to talk about Totti at this point. It seems like when we look back, he was at almost the height of his powers, right? This might be his best performance for Italy in a tournament, right? His best personal performance for Italy in a tournament. It seemed like every time we watched a highlight of Italy, every chance that was created came through Totti. Every shot was assisted by Totti. He seemed to just be running the show completely. He looked glorious, and I think it was just great to see him at his pomp.
Yeah, I think that's I know that that's the moment when Totti, who was talked about a lot, is this guy going to become a star or what? That's a tournament where he really showed people that he meant business. Then in the following editions, especially in the following edition, singular, of the Euro Cup, he decided to spit on Poulsen's face.
We'll let him off.
That was it. But in this tournament, yes, it did come up clutch. Rory, what other quarterfinals we had? A pretty classic, but unprecedented, I believe, France-Spain 2-1.
We did have France overcoming Spain 2-1 with goals from Zidane and Djorkaeff. Love seeing that Djorkaeff name. The goal for Spain was from Mendieta. Now, this, again, Spain just always flatter to deceive at this point, and France are starting to hit their stride. Anelka gets his appearance. And, but the quarterfinal we really need to talk about, Tommy.
But
before
we go there, it must be said for any Spanish listeners that Spain did have a chance to go overtime, but Raul skied the penalty at the 90th minute, and France won the game 2-1. But yes, the big quarterfinal that once again made people believe that they were there for a reason. They were there to lift the trophy. Netherlands 6, Yugoslavia 1. Damn.
Now, that is a crazy scoreline in a quarterfinal. I remember, again, we sat and watched it, and I was like, wait, what? Was that 6-1? Like, that is an absolute drubbing. So, Kluivert, previously mentioned, gets a hat-trick, an own goal from Govardaricha, I'm going to say, and another Arsenal player, although I'm not sure if he was at the time, he was, Mark Overmars getting a brace. Savo Milosevic getting the one goal for Yugoslavia in the 92nd minute, so definitely a consolation. But this game seemed... Now, I think this was where we actually realised how good the Yugoslavia squad was, weirdly. We kept seeing names and going, oh my God, I know that guy. Oh my God, this squad's sick. But that Holland team, oh my days. It's how this team didn't win something, and I'm sure every country can look back at generations and say, how did they not win something, right? But this Holland team, how they didn't win something is genuinely a bit mind-blowing.
It is. So, who do the Netherlands meet in the semifinals? Italy. And this is the game. So, I was really young, but I was getting slightly into football. I believe that that's the summer that my dad bought me a pair of goalkeeping gloves. But that's the summer where I discovered who Francesco Toldo was. Bear with us because you're going to find out why I'm mentioning our goalkeeper. So the Netherlands have just beat Yugoslavia 6-1. They are playing at home. They are the favorites. Italy really are in a difficult tie, just like any semifinal. Now, in the first half, there is a brilliant stat. You know, Rory, how many shots Italy had? Not shots on target, just like shots in general.
I'm gonna honestly say like 1. This was the biggest shithouse victory in history.
0. The Netherlands shot 10 times, 4 of which on target. Italy very quickly adopt the good old catenaccio technique. Guys, let's sit back, let them play, let them really run out of gas. They are better than us. Second half, 14th minute mark. Bergkamp, not quite. He hits the post. And then in 19 minutes, in the space of 19 minutes, and here you watch the highlights. I don't know how we went through. Spoiler alert.
Honestly, it is like Greece 2004-esque. It is ridiculous.
Yes. Zambrotta picks up double yellow card in 19 minutes. Italy are down to 10 men, and 4 minutes later, oh shit, we're out. 4 minutes later, a penalty is awarded to the Orange, but Toldo, who had been, all over the place in that tournament. Some games he was world class. Some games he was really making us regret not having Buffon. He saves the penalty on Frank de Boer. Now, Italy seem to play better with 10 men. The Dutch seem tired. Italy have got a few chances. They don't capitalize. But at the 62nd minute, Mark Giuliano, known as the Pitbull or just a very shitty person, takes down David in the Italy penalty box. It's the second penalty awarded to the Orange. You think they're going to make it. Bergkamp goes to De Boer and says, you missed the first one. I'm going to take it. But no, Dennis. He hit the post. God knows how Italy are in extra time. And at the 10th minute mark, at overtime, and at the 10th minute mark, it can really play in our favor because we haven't remembered that this is one of those tournaments when there was that stupid bang, goal, fuck off, you're out, golden goal rule.
It's the worst rule. I don't know why they brought it in. I remember, again, going miles away. I remember watching Crew Alexandra losing a cup in golden goal, and it was the most painful thing in the world. So I can't even imagine what it's like watching your national team in golden goal fucking lose on that rule. And it's there for one tournament. It is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And the funny thing is that in overtime, Marco Del Vecchio, Roma legend, almost scores the first golden goal ever to Italy. And I'm laughing because if there is a Dutch listener right now, he's already turned off the audio.
I'm out.
And he's texted a bunch of friends, don't listen to the Anglo-Italian pod, they are wankers. Dude, I love the Netherlands, man. I really love the Netherlands. But this is just funny because Italy managed to resist and we go to penalties. Now, in the World Cup of 1998, Italy had been eliminated at penalties because Di Biagio had missed a crucial one versus France. Now, he is the first one to shoot the penalty, which is something that I like. In the previous tournament, you were the one that cost us the tournament, and now you go first. Man, that is the attitude.
It takes balls. Stuart Pearce did the same thing for England at Euro 96. After missing it Italia 90, he took a penalty at 96, scored it, put us through. It takes big balls, and I think it kind of closes that circle for them, right? It's good to see.
But as Italy scored the first one, the Dutch, man, they keep missing from the penalty spot, man. Talk about mental pressure. Well, the first penalty by Frank de Boer is saved by Toldo. So this means that Frankie has missed the 2 penalty out of 2 in the game. Pessotto scores against Juventus teammate Edwin van der Sar. Stam skies the ball, absolutely. Totti scores. Kluivert scores. Maldini could end it, but no, Van der Sar saves the penalty. What is going on? And here I have a very remote memory of my dad and some family friends watching the game at our house, and we had a beautiful porch outside, and I just remember, I was just like, what is going on? I was probably playing outside with the other kids, but after a few seconds of very intense heartbeat, Bosvelt, the Dutch captain, meets Toldo's hands once again. Italy! But guys, please go look up on Google Pictures. It's all you need to do. Toldo, Netherlands. The joy. My father said one thing about Francesco Toldo that I will always remember. He looks like Goofy from Disney.
That's a massive shout.
He does. That's a great
That's a massive shout.
I know. And you see this guy, and he's got massive hands, and he's running with this iconic gray goalkeeping kit, and the Italian players are just like, what the fuck? Made it way into the final. But Rory, wash down my excitement with the other semi-final.
Now, this semi-final, and Portugal, it turns out, have form for throwing their dummy out of the pram, right? And kind of having tantrums. Now, we remember, I think it was the battle of, I can't remember what stadium it was, in 2000 and Euro 2008. I think I remember a battle between Portugal and, who was it?
The Netherlands, man.
Yeah, between Portugal and the Netherlands, right? Well, this is kind of the precursor to that, as they are against France in the semi-final.
Sorry, game, by the way, was at the World Cup 2006. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Thank you. But this is where we see the Portuguese propensity for doing this, right? So they're facing France. They go up in the 19th minute through that man, Nuno Gomez. But of course, Thierry Henry equalizes in the 51st minute. The game goes into extra time. And of course, as we've said, it's the golden goal rule. And in the 117th minute, France are given a penalty for a handball, which now we look back on it. What did you think of the handball decision?
Highly controversial, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced by it. I couldn't believe it was given. If I was a Portugal player, I would have been very angry. But what happens next? Because there's only 3 minutes left, and they know that basically, as Zidane is stepping up, he's probably going to score the penalty. Figo just walks off the pitch and says, fuck it, I'm done. He goes, right, tournament's over, I'm done, walks off the pitch, lets Zidane take the penalty, who, of course, slots it away. And now France have the possibility to do the double of World Cup and European Cup. But the lucky and cynical Italians are in their way.
Now, believe it or not, Italy played the final with the white jersey. You know that jersey does not really sit well with Italy anymore.
I can imagine. You played blue the entire... but France were in blue, innit?
Yeah, France were in blue, but we made sure that for the 2006 World Cup final, we were wearing blue and they were
They
wearing
were wearing
white,
white.
which means that wearing white brings fucking bad luck. Too bad for Rory, who's got a collection of 23 kits and 18 of them are white, right?
It brings out my eyes. What can I say?
Nice. And here we are at the final. Man, this final. So in the first 7 minutes of the game, Italy have got not one, nor two, nor three, but four opportunities to make it 1-0. Now, going into this game, there is clearly the feeling that we are the inferior side. This is the France that have just won the World Cup. They could have a double, of course. We've won a Euro Cup in 1968. The most recent exploit at a World Cup was, 1994. We were in the final with Brazil. But there is the feeling that we are in front of an almost invincible side. Now, after 15 minutes in the first half, after we almost slotted it, there is this feeling that France are really advancing in the pitch and Italy are starting to go back and back and back. It is that feeling, but the first half ends with 0-0. The second half starts with France just going for it. And for 7 minutes, they are just really battering us. But at the 7th minute of the second half, and this is something that I really appreciate, Dino Zoff saw that something was missing. We needed something new. So at the 7th minute of the second half, it's not a type of substitution that we see that often. I was very surprised 2 weeks ago when Hansi Flick made that change against PSG in the first half. I love to see these quick changes. At the 52nd minute, Del Piero comes in. Fiore out. Totti becomes a trequartista all of a sudden, and this creates quite a few problems for the France defense. And in 2 minutes, sure enough, Italy go top of the tie. Totti gets a ball from Albertini that from the right edge of the penalty box gives a beautiful backheel pass to Pessotto. Pessotto has got all the time to cross the ball in the middle. And who it is? It's a man who loves scoring headers. Del Vecchio, 55th minute, Italy are up.
Can I quickly ask, what is Del Vecchio's legacy? Because I remember him part of that Roma team, and I always quite liked him.
Del Vecchio to me is just Rome. When I think of him, I just think of Rome, and I just think of him as a man that I remember always with the ball attached to his forehead, scoring.
Right. He had that big curly hair, like the big curly afro, right? That was him.
And he kind of looked old even when he was 20 years old. I don't know.
Diego Costa, born looking 50. Yeah.
Exactly. At that point, there is one thing that I will always remember. I remember this very clearly. For a few minutes, France lose it. Their legs start shaking, and sure enough, Italy, you remember my reaction when we watched that highlight, Italy have got a clear-cut chance of making it 2-0 in the European Championship final against the world champions, but Del Piero misses. And now he misses from the exact same position from which he scored against Germany in the semifinals of 2006.
Experience. That's what it teaches you. Experience works.
I will tell you one thing. Del Piero it didn't sit really well with Italian fans until he scored that goal in the semifinal against Germany after this miss against France. Yes, but the thing is, Italy have got more and more opportunities to make it 2-0. The France team is looking a little tired. They're confused. They shoot a few times on goal, but Toldo always answers present. But at the end, something crazy happens. The Blues are pushing. They're pushing. Lemaire has been thrown in the team. There are plenty of forwards playing for France, and in one of the only defensive mistakes, Wiltord receives an assist touched by Cannavaro, and his shot is really like the ace that you pull out of your sleeves, and the shot goes underneath Nesta's foot. Toldo almost touches it, but this is, what minute is it? Let me double check. This is the 93rd minute. Now, watching the highlights, man, it's heartbreaking. You see the Italian bench, they're all standing up, and there is the referee telling them, hey, it's not over yet. 30 seconds and you can celebrate. Goal by France. It's 1-1. We go to overtime. But once again, there is that fucking golden goal rule. And at the 103rd minute, David Trezeguet scores. And the game is over because the rule is bang, goal, fuck off, you are out. And Italy, who were winning for, I would say, 35 minutes of this tie, in the matter of 13 minutes, they see their dreams crushed. And man, in this team, there was, of course, Paolo Maldini. And Paolo Maldini has never won anything with Italy.
Wow. Oh. Now, we need to talk about, because another tournament which we'll come on to is 2002. But when a player knocked out Italy who played in Italy, he was released by the club, right? But Trezeguet, how was he received in Italy after that?
Man, did he play at Juventus already? Let me double check. He was already at Juventus, was he? I'm doing a little bit of research. I'm going to edit it, of course.
I think he was at that point. I'm just double checking.
Let's see. He was playing in...
He signed that year, 2000.
Yeah, he signed that year. Wow, I don't know. Well, now, then the question... He was at Monaco then, and he had just won the league.
Yeah.
What a season for him. What a summer. But I can picture the first day that he walked in training, meeting all of his Juventus buddies for the first time. I'm sure that was a little awkward. Rory, do you have any recollection of this final?
Now, I remember my dad being very, very emotional about this game because, as listeners of the pod will know, my dad is... he likes to think he's very, very Italian. So I remember him being quite emotional about this. But like I said, in England, it feels like a bit of a lost tournament. There are a few tournaments that often aren't remembered. I think Euro 92 is one that often gets forgotten. But yeah, my overriding memories are of that Italy team, really. And watching the highlights again, I did kind of go, oh yeah, I did see some of it. I did watch some of it. But I wanted to take us through the awards that were handed out at the end of the tournament, seeing as we've reached the climax. The Golden Boot was shared between Savo Milosevic and Patrick Kluivert, both with 5 goals. And the team of the tournament was, you ready for this? Well, the goalkeepers were Fabian Barthez and, of course, Francesco Toldo. The defenders, Blanc, Desailly, Thuram, Cannavaro, Maldini, Nesta, and Frank de Boer. Midfielders, Vieira, Zidane, Albertini, Davids, Rui Costa, Luis Figo, and Pep Guardiola. The forwards, Milosevic, Henry, Totti, Kluivert, Nuno Gomez, and Raul. That is a dream. Just reading those names was a pleasure. Oh, my God.
It was indeed. Guys, this was a very extensive...
Oh, and finally, player of the tournament was Zinedine Zidane. There we go.
Yeah, this was a very extensive Euro 2000 review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope Italians that are listening are not crying. Come on, we had our revenge 6 years later. Do you remember? Yeah, Zidane, headbutt.
Tommy, we're going to slowly work our way to that tournament. I bet you can't wait for that episode.
No, you know what episode I can't wait for? It's the 2002 World Cup, because there is going to be a 30-minute, what the fuck, FIFA is rigged.
Yeah.
Big time. Actually,
conspiracy theories everywhere.
If you guys want to prepare for that episode, go on YouTube. There is an entire video that is called the South Korea Scandal 2002 with the music from a Requiem for a Dream that shows a slow motion replays of non-existing fouls and Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish players playing against South Korea really pulling their hair off their heads. The best footage, of course, is the one with Trapattoni just grabbing a random guy from the Italian bench and just putting him against the bench and being like, what the fuck? And you see,
what's going on?
I don't know. I'm on your side. Talk to the referee, man. But okay, Rory, it's time to jump finally to our 1 minute to kickoff quiz. You are going to question me over South American players playing in Serie A from 2000 to 2021. I'm ready. Are you?
Okay, Tommy, I hope that wasn't too painful for you going down through golden goal memory lane. But now you're going to have to shift your mental focus to your chosen topic, which was
South Americans in Serie A from 2000 to 2021. Now, it's kind of funny because last time, before we started recording the episode, Rory told me I have done zero research on that. And today I told Rory I have done zero research on that. And so Rory told me, Tommaso, let's keep making zero research on that. Otherwise, it becomes too easy and not that entertaining, I guess. So with zero research done, I'm ready to go into the quiz. 1 minute to kick off. How many questions have you got for me, Rory?
So I have 8 questions in total. Maybe you'll get 8. Who knows? So last week I got 2. The week before you got 2. Let's see if we can push that number a little bit higher. So get
Rory,
ready for the intro music.
Okay, so 1 minute timer in front of my eyes. It's going to really make it intense. I'm opening the timer right now, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Who is the highest scoring South American in Serie A history?
Gabriel Batistuta.
1. Who was the most expensive South American player 2000 to 2021?
I'm thinking...
You can pass.
Pass.
Which South American has scored the most goals in that time for Inter?
Diego Milito.
No. Which player appeared the most for Inter? Which South American player?
Appeared the most for Inter? Javier Zanetti.
No. Which player has the most hat-tricks in Serie A?
Gabriel Batistuta.
No. Which player has the most red cards?
Walter Samuel.
No. Who was the last South American goalkeeper to win Goalkeeper of the Year?
Pass.
And which South American defender won Defender of the Year? He shared it with Chiellini.
Walter Samuel.
Okay, so you have 2. Tommy again. So the highest scoring South American player for Inter was Mauro Icardi.
Motherfucker.
With 124 goals. The South American player who appeared the most for Inter between 2000 and 2021 is Ivan Cordoba with 455 appearances.
More than Zanetti? Wow.
After 2000. After 2000,
yeah.
Right? Which other questions was it? Which South American player has the most hat-tricks in Serie A? It's Hernan Crespo with 8. Which South American player has the most red cards? It was Montero with 16.
Dude, how did I not think? Look, Montero. This is something funny. I'm pretty good with the nationalities and shit. Montero, I always forget that he's fucking Uruguayan.
That's a fucking Italian name, eh?
Yeah, I always think that he's Italian, and I always associate him to Juventus, and so for me, he's an Italian player who played at Juventus. Fuck that. Yeah. Montero,
and finally, the last goalkeeper, the last South American goalkeeper to win Goalkeeper of the Year was Dida in 2004.
Wow, I didn't do... So when I think of South America, I have to say something. When I think of South America, it's kind of split into...
Brazil and Argentina, it basta, is it?
It's split in two between Brazil and Argentina, and I cannot think outside of there. And right now, I was focusing on players like Crespo. I didn't say Crespo and stuff, but when you say South America, it takes me a second to get to Dida, as a South American goalkeeper. But yeah, once again, a good quiz. I'm at 4 points with 1 game in hand. Rory, you're at 2. What is going to be your topic of expertise for next week?
I haven't even thought about it, so I'm going to say...
On the spot.
Arsenal 04-05... No, 03-04 season. That was the unbeaten season, wasn't it? 1 second. I should know that off the top of my head. Or 3 or 4?
0304. Okay. You confirm? This is your topic?
Wait, Frig, where's it gone? Mate, how can I not remember that? That's so embarrassing. 0304, yeah, Arsenal 0304 season.
I'm not going to edit this. You are going to show all the Arsenal.
Well, honestly, it's so embarrassing. It's because, and this is going to be such a shit excuse, the Arsenal shirt I've got is that old, the one for the last year at Highbury, and that's 0405, and I always confuse that with the Invincible season. Terrible Arsenal fan, I know.
But you sure did not confuse the scoreline when you told me that Arsenal are currently 3-0 up against the Slavia Praga. Manchester United are winning 1-0 thanks to a Edinson Cavani goal. And the Roma, Ajax, Villarreal, Dinamo Zagreb, the deadlock is still there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say goodbye to you, and I'm going to give you an appointment to Monday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Don't miss. It's always our good old friends, but it's always only them joining us. We are waiting for more people to join and share some banter with us. Rory, I leave you to the ending quote of the episode.
So the quote this week is from this week, and it is Neymar post the match against Bayern. He says, "You can have possession as much as you like. You can sing for a woman all night long, but if a guy comes and takes her away from you in 5 minutes, she's gone." That was a lesson to Bayern. And much in the same vein, we are gone. We will see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.